Okay, so to get to prop reports, which is connected to your account, you can go directly here or use one of the links we sent in your email or go to your dashboard as well. But this is the address. It's https:// fundertrading.propreports.com. Right? On a side note, I also have this prop reports for Great Point Capital. I'm not going to log into that, but just making a point that prop reports is the major supplier of trading data analysis of teams and trading groups and individual traders out there. This is the creme de la creme. Okay, this is the top of the top. So I'm going to go here. And notice that I have this. I have to enter my email and whatever else. I'm not going to show you all that. I'm just going to skip out of that for now. But here I'm logged in. Okay, so I'm just going to jump over here, and I'm logged in. And oops, sorry, hold on. That's for an individual. 1 second. All right. So now I'm here for a group. So I'm looking at all accounts. See, no incriminating information here. You can go directly to fundertrading.propreports.com. Yep, or click on the trade metrics on your dashboard. That is correct. Thank you, Dan. All right, so remember, guys, like there's a lot of stuff that you want to make sure you know about. Read those emails carefully. Be detail oriented on this stuff because we have shared a lot of great info that you guys should be using. So I want to make sure you know. And of course, all the boarding emails, etc., talk about that. So here I'm in prop reports. I'm analyzing everybody. Okay, this is not one person. This is the entire group. As it says here, trade perform statistics for the group, all accounts. Now you guys aren't going to see that because you're not in the master view. I am. So I'm logged into the master view on behalf of Tino, actually. And I'm looking at everything here. So this has everything, trade fees, payouts, whatever. So when you go live, guess what? You're still going to be seeing this. And it's going to show us where your account is, what your balance is, whether you lost, you won, what your payout is, when you got paid out, etc. Right? This is a very effective organizational tool. You can also export data into Excel if you want to save it for some reason, but it's always here. But if you're like me, I like to archive things on my computer just for future reference, so you can do that as well. Okay, having said that, this is showing me everything from December 1st to December the 13th, not including today. I just made sure I refresh it. So it's telling me that there were 310 different equities that have been traded by you lovely folks. And it's going to show me everything that you did in alphabetical order, starting from AAL, going all the way down to ZS. So these are all the stocks you guys have traded since the beginning of December until yesterday. And it's giving me a breakdown of all the stats. Now I'm in the group trade performance tab. So when you're in your individual login, you would go to trade performance. And it'll just tell you, you select the dates, generate report, and here it is. There's a lot more you can do with this by far than what I'm showing you. This is just the simplest version of it, but this can break down into excruciating detail if you wanted to. You just have to choose the right reports, but they got a lot of them. Group totals by symbol, group fees by destination, group open position summary, group summary by date. Now I'm just going to stick to group for now, but when you're doing this individually, you would just select trade performance, trades, detailed, etc. In other words, these are for the individual. If it's, in my case, when you see group, that's what it means. It's the group. It's all of you. Okay? Now, win-loss trades. You have 2,586 trades that were winners, and you've got 2,550 trades that were losers, which means that we've won more than we lose. So our batting percentage is 50.35% for the group as a whole. The win to loss ratio is 1.0821 for the group as a whole. To put this in perspective, guys, when I first started with Great Point Capital, and I'll have to maybe one day find that. I know I have it somewhere on my computer. It's in my email, I believe. I saved it in my Gmail, but it's like almost 10 years old. But I will locate it and I'll show you when I find it what my stats looked like when I was a new guy. Okay, trading $2,000 in buying power. But anyway, point is, my stats were not this good. My win to loss was probably 0.86 if I remember correctly, and my batting average was probably about 45%. So you guys are doing better than I was at the start, just to point that out. But most of you here are better trained than I was. A lot of you come from Prosper, so therefore you've gotten training. I came into this fairly green when it came to stocks. Anyway, this shows you your average hold. No, I just was telling you what my old numbers would have looked like. Mickey, I was saying, like, when I started, I wasn't 1.08 to 1. I was about 0.86 to 1. And my batting average was definitely under 50%. So that's me when I started. I'm showing you the report for you guys as a whole. Does that make sense? So over here, I have the average hold time, right? Yes, this is it right here. Win-loss W/L. It's right there. That's it. Okay, so you can also resize your screen to shrink it, but I know this is a pretty big view. Okay, so average hold time is saying how long you're holding on average, which for us, this is in minutes, well actually in hours or minutes. So basically our average hold time is an hour and 1 minute, right? So that means we're looking for momentum on average. We're holders. All right, all fees is 0 because you don't have any fees, so it doesn't matter. Okay. This is your net gain as a group. This is all losses and, not really. To be honest, Gene, it depends on your approach. So, like I mentioned, most of our money's being made in the first 20 minutes. So at least a third of this makes sense. I'll go over how I know that most of the money's being made in the morning in just a second. But anyway, so this is our net gain, right? This is the gross gain, which will be the same in this case because you don't actually have any fees. Now, this is an interesting one. Okay, so I want you to look at this. This is the one I always look at. Which one do you think has the higher hold time, losses or gains? Which one do you guys think will have the longer hold time? You got it. Tells you something right away. I was the same, but you guys are doing better than me. When I started, my loss time, my average hold for a loss was 3 times my average hold for a win. So that gives you an idea of how difficult I was having figuring out what to do. I mean, it's hard to cut a loss when you don't know what you're doing, to be honest. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you could have experience trading something else, but when you go into something new, you know you got to cut your loss, but you just don't know when, right, or where. So the natural thing to do is wait and see until you figure it out, which is what I did. But that actually helped because once I saw where things were going, then I could adjust using the stats. So that's what they told me to do, so that's what I did. All right, so our average hold time for a loss is 1 hour and 10 minutes. Our average hold time for a win is 51.9 0.44. A wash trade just means you got in, you got out the same price. Basically, you broke even. So most of the trades were not breaking even. We're either winning or losing. So 86 trades out of thousands were wash trades, and the average hold time for that was only 13 minutes, which means that looks like a lot of you guys are getting out quickly if things start to go your way but then go the other way, which is good, by the way. That's good. If it starts to go your way but then turns around, more likely than not, the timing is wrong, so naturally you got out. That's fine. As long as, I think you guys are planning ahead of what you expect. So if it's not meeting expectations, you just say, I'm out. Good idea. Okay, so those are some positives. So in total, the realized gains were $343,855.67, which is an average of $132.97 per win. And if we look at the losing side over here, the total losses realized was $313,689.72, average loss of $123.02, which is how we got the win-to-loss ratio, meaning that if you guys were funded right now, Funder would be up about 30 grand, assuming you didn't have any fees, which would be nice. But obviously that can go up and down, right? We want this number to stay positive as a group, but that's not a guarantee. And also, this doesn't break down who's providing the wins versus losses. This is the most negative part of trading professionally, and I just will point this out. If you're really not performing, there's no reason to give you money. I mean, someone could argue diversification, but if you're constantly losing, there's no reason to fund you, because that money could easily go to other people who are doing well, and they'll just make more money. Does that make sense to everybody? So if you got some people leading the charge, and I guarantee if we break this down across the group, there are going to be some people making money and there's some people that are not. But I am very encouraged to see that as a group, we're still actually on the positive side, which means that we know that you guys are actually learning and doing good. So that's very encouraging for us to know that once some of you get funded, you should be able to generate some returns. Okay, now, long trades represent the majority of the trades, and that makes sense because your fearless leader here is mostly long. This is correct. You do have some quotas, Mickey, but they're not quotas in terms of profits. You have to trade a certain number of days, so in other words, you don't have to have a certain win percentage when you're funded. You don't have to have a certain biggest winner versus biggest loser. That stuff doesn't really count when you're funded. The purpose of the challenge is to make sure that people who get funded can actually generate the type of performance that would generate results over time. But once you're on that side, we don't really monitor that, but I will be monitoring it myself. And if I notice that you're slipping, I'm going to point that out before it gets too bad. In other words, the idea is to keep you from slipping and not being funded anymore. No, I said the opposite. I said we don't have that. Do not. Once you're funded, you don't have that. But the point is, if you are funded and your win-to-loss ratio is all messed up, you're going to crap out. Yes, you got to be net positive, but also you have to fall within risk parameters too. So I guess, guys, I think what might be missing here is this. If anyone thinks that just being positive is going to keep you alive as a prop trader, you're wrong. It doesn't matter what the firm lets you do. If you if you don't keep these stats correct, you will lose money. That's it. Not like you might, you will. And eventually you're going to get cut. And it happens, right? So it's the purpose of the challenge is to make you into what you need to be able to succeed. So everyone, I get like everyone's worried about, well, what about Look, most firms have pretty specific rules about how you have to perform. If you're not hitting your, think about like in sales, if you're not hitting your quota, why are they going to give you the seat? Or think about it in business, if you're not bringing in enough business, why are they going to keep you in business, right? This is a job. It really is. It's not, I got my money, now I'm just going to kick back. You have to work. Otherwise, what's the money for? That money could be used for a lot of other purposes. We need people that trade and want to make money and are willing to put the effort in on a regular basis. This is why in the contract it specifically says that you have to trade a certain number of days every month. Now we know people are going to take vacations and things like that or get sick, but on a regular basis you need to trade. So if they give, in other words, if you have the money, like if I was at Great Point Capital, they give me money and I go months without trading, what do you think they're going to do? They wouldn't even be months. They would be calling me after 2 weeks of no activity and saying, hey, is everything okay? Are you still trading? If you're not, then we're going to have to move this money to somebody else. So if you got one person performing, actually trading, and another person doing nothing, the money is going to go to the people that are performing, right? Like I said, guys, this is all common sense stuff. This is not like rocket science. And I think it makes it easier if you think about it from our end. If you were giving people your money, would you ever be sitting back saying, oh, do whatever you want? I'm not worried about, just make sure you're positive. You would never do that. Right? So anyway, so moving forwards, having harped on that, which I usually do, I've given people money, by the way, so I'm not just speaking about this hypothetically. I've done it, and I've heard so many BS excuses over the years. It's not funny. So everyone's got the system that works, and then it doesn't. They're telling me that, oh, it's just bad luck. Just keep giving me money. I'll make it back. Yeah. Oh, sure you will. Okay. So after a while, you got to cut. So the idea here is once you're funded, you have more flexibility, you have more leeway, but you can't do whatever you want. There'll still be loss limits daily. There'll still be drawdown limits. We're not going to focus on your win-to-loss ratio, but I will be looking at it to let you know if you're slipping, that you need to improve that, or else most likely you're going to be heading out the door, right? Which I assume everyone wants to know that they're on the cusp of, getting into a consistent drawdown. All right, so short trades represent 718 trades, whereas we had 1,868 long. And of course, that makes sense. No, the losses, everything changes, guys, once you're funded. So your loss limits will change depending on how much money you've got. So those are the parameters that would be appropriate for a certain size account, but you actually have a little more risk room when you're trading live. But during the challenge, it's a little different. You got to get through the process. Anyway, so we're doing more long trades than short, which makes sense because I am mostly looking for long trades. I'm mostly identifying stocks that are moving up. So therefore, it's natural that you guys are mostly doing that. But if we look at the stats, I do have to say the short side is not doing so well overall. You guys did well yesterday, but not in general. This is what I expected. Trading short is not a bad thing, but I think a lot of times people do it at the wrong times, which I've gone over in the training, so I won't go over that now. But for short trades, the average hold is about is 2/3 of the average hold of a long, but the win-to-loss ratio is 0.71, which means that you're underwater because you're only winning 50% of the time. So this is losing. That's what losing looks like. If you win 50%, your win-loss ratio is under 1, you're losing. On the winning side, 50.47%, which is higher than the overall batting average, 1.28 to 1, which is better than the win-loss ratio, and you're holding longer, but you're making more money. The net, I can't overstate this enough. Look at the net. 61,463 on the long side versus 31,297 on the short side, which means that we would have double the net gain for the group if no one was going short. Now, I'm not telling you not to go short. Some of you might be doing well individually going short, but if you look at your stats and you notice you suck at short selling, stop doing it. Just stop, right? just to be blunt about it. If it's not your skill, it's not your skill. Some people are good at it. A lot of people are not. I do think psychologically a lot of people are uncomfortable with short selling. It just feels weird, and that's going to affect your performance. But some people are good at it. I've noticed who is in the room. So therefore, if you're good at it, do it. If you're not good at it, skip it. Most of us seem to do a lot better going long. So if you're in that group, go long. Now, when do we do well? Okay, this is the part that I want to go over the most. This is what was most enlightening to me when I first saw prop reports. So I had a guy named Gabe Mengen is his name. He's now the president of Great Point Capital. And at the time, he was the desk manager, trade desk manager. So Gabe sat us down, and he went over this with us, and he showed me my stats. And this stat right here, these stats here actually were the ones that got my attention the most. It showed where I was doing well, what time of day. Yes, you make a lot more early. I mean, this is not even a competition. I mean, this is like, I was going to use a football analogy, but some of you might be fans of some of these teams, so I won't do that. But, I mean, this is like Michael Jordan versus, some other guy. Basically, it's not the number of trades either. Look at this. More trades are being done in this period of time than any other right here. This is where the majority of the trades are happening. And it also is where the majority of losing is happening. So the post-market numbers are coming up because people left the position open and it had to be liquidated. The pre-market, you can actually trade pre-market. That's actually allowed. Yes, David, you got it. And by the way, this is a normal, yes, this is in Eastern actually, Jody. That's Eastern time. So basically, guys, let's put it this way. The middle of the day, not even the middle of the day, the once you get past the first 40 minutes of the day, it goes sharply downhill as far as performance. But ironically, this is exactly where most of the trades are taking place. Yes, you can trade pre-market. That's still allowed. I'll double check with Tino to make sure we haven't changed that. But yes, that's allowed. We specifically allowed that. But you won't have the charting capabilities pre-market, just to be clear. The charts will only function during the regular session. But if you're looking at it on another platform, it'll be perfectly fine. I don't know when you can start that, so I would let me just forward that question to Tino just to verify that that's is there a limit to how early you can do it, okay? But anyway, let me just move on from there. So whatever the case may be, the pre-market isn't where, even if we look at the trades that have been done, it's not really a big winner. Pre-market usually is not as easy as you think. Yes, that's right, Branton. But what's really telltale is that the majority of the trades that are losing are happening after the open, which means that a lot of you are not acting at the open like you should. You're not aggressively jumping in because you're worried about, I don't know if it's the right time, let me wait and see, I need something to confirm this or that. As I've said, at the open, you got to take risks because that's where the money is made. So if something's not working out, cut it quick and move on to something else. As long as you catch a few good movers, you make some money, right? So therefore, the first 20 minutes of the session is where you guys are the most dangerous. You are killing it, 2-1, 55.51% win percentage. Some of you might think that's not good. That's a good win percentage. 60% is your ideal. If you're over a 60% win percent over time, probably you're not going to do so well making money. 60% or basically if you're between 55 and 60% win percentage, you'll probably make the most money for your time. Well, since we're day trading, this is just saying when, I believe it's only tracking when they're initiated. No, sorry, correction. This is tracking the period of time. It's just saying from this time to that time, if any trades took place in that time, they typically get a outcome. Even if they're not closed, they still have that outcome. So what that's basically saying is in that period of time, you're most likely to capture your day. And then after that point in time, if you're still holding, not every stock is likely to keep going at the same pace. So your chances of, so obviously the trade has to be initiated somewhere. So the stat here is a little vague, but basically what it's saying is during that period of time, initiated and held, you do well. If you initiate and hold or hold later, you do poorer. That's basically it. So most stocks are not going to be like Moderna today, is what it's saying. You're most likely not going to get a runner that goes all day. So the morning is where it's at, which we already should know. That's one of the reasons I focus. That's one of the reasons that I focus my attention. Just contact the help desk lane. One of the reasons why I focus on looking for stuff pre-market, having a list ready at the open, is I want to get in as quickly as possible if anything's moving. Only way to do that is to have a list ready and seeing what's moving at the bell, right? So that's why it's so important to have the pre-market. You want to be ready for the open, because once that bell rings, you got about a 20-minute window to get the majority of your money. So it's basically cash grabbing at that point. You're just grabbing the money, okay? Now, after this point of the day, pretty much the odds are fairly similar. Like 10-10 to 10-15, you got win to loss ratio is 1.08. Here it's 0.99. Here, post market I won't count because that's not supposed to happen. But basically, you can see a pattern. The worst time to trade, based on these stats, for what you guys are doing, most of you are underperforming dramatically between 11:15 to 13:30 Eastern time. So that's basically 11:15 Eastern to 1:30 Eastern. If you're trading in that time slot, you're most likely losing badly. I do it live every day, Lee. You just have to just get up and log into the YouTube. I start at 7:30 my time, 8:30 Eastern. Then I jump into this room at 9 o'clock Eastern. And then at 9:30 the market opens. So if you're there, I'm literally doing the whole process right in front of you in real time. I do that every day. So is anyone here not aware that you can log in to check that out? Yeah, YouTube starts at, YouTube starts at 8:30. Yes, Thursday is your day as a group. YouTube starts at 8:30. Then this room starts at 9. YouTube starts at 8:30. Frank, you go to our YouTube channel, Funder Trading. You'll find a link to our YouTube channel in the folder at the bottom right. But if you don't see it, that's where all the videos I save are. So this video, when I save it, that's where it's going to be. All right, but I got to move on here, guys. So basically, my strong advice is stop trading so much during that period of 11:15 Eastern to 1:30 Eastern, because that is not working. That's a very bad set of stats. In fact, if you look at the losses, the overwhelming majority of the losses are apparently short trades that occurred during that time. That I don't know. No, that's I was about to say. Everyone's not going to fall. This is just the average of everybody. I can't say how many stocks should be on a watch list. I just look for whatever's moving recently and I put it on the watch list. That's it. But during the day, I'm actually scanning the entire Nasdaq and seeing what's basically popping to the top of the lists. But that's another story. So anyway, guys, the everyone's not going to fit the mold that we see here. Some of you are going to do much better at other times of day. If that's the case, do what works best. But for most of you, the majority of the transactions are not working very well in the middle of the day. So therefore, you want to cut them out. Now, this was the first bit of advice I was given. This was the first lesson I got when I talked with Gabe. He said, "Look, these are your stats. That's where you're doing well. That's where you suck. Stop doing what sucks." Okay. That was it. Maybe. Okay. Yeah. The real prop trading world, well, this is the real prop trading world, but the traditional prop trading world is brutal. Trust me. It's very brutal. They don't really sympathize or empathize at all. Okay, going down. So as far as days, we have a fairly equal distribution of trades, but Wednesday is the day we trade the least. And actually, it's probably good we do because we have the majority of the losses on Wednesday. Thursday, on the other hand, for whatever reason, works really well. So maybe everyone's looking forward to the weekend. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, Thursday has been our day. I don't think it actually is because of the day being Thursday. I actually think it's just some market dynamics that have recently been happening. I'm pretty certain if I do the research, I'll find out that Thursday is probably has been consistently the most volatile day of the last month. That's my guess. And my other guess is that Wednesday has been consistently the least volatile day. Well, yeah, maybe, but you got to trade enough days. What I'm just saying is, since we know the morning is where the money is made, basically I would say the only day you might want to try trading longer than the open, or if you get a stock that's on the run, as I told the gentleman today, if you get a stock that's really on a run, stay with it. Like today, I forgot, Maggie, I think, asked me about Moderna. If you're in Moderna and it's going like a train, just stay with it. Doesn't matter what day it is. Doesn't matter what the stats say. If the stock's on a runaway freight train and you're already in it, just stay with it. You don't have to do anything but wait until it stops, right? Until it goes off the rails. But if that's not the situation you're in, if you find yourself searching for trades, once you're past that first half hour, that most likely you're not going to find anything that good if your stats are similar to the group. If your stats are similar to this, you don't want to be trading at times where you're not doing well. So everyone's got to look at their individual stats, but obviously an average is an average. So most of us here are really doing poorly on Wednesdays, which means that probably we have to look at what's happening on Wednesdays. So if you review your trade history, look at those days. What was going on Wednesday? What were things like? How was the market moving? What did I do on Wednesdays that I didn't do on other days? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like you got to investigate. You have to look into, why am I doing better on Thursday? Why is Thursday a better day? What do I do that makes Thursday better if I'm doing better on Thursday? If I'm not doing better on Thursday but everyone else is, maybe I want to find out, what are they doing? What is everyone else doing on Thursday that's working so good that's not working for me? Maybe I would ask. Maybe I'll pay attention, right? Okay. Now, next thing is symbols. This was also brutally important to me. So this was the second most important thing that I saw when I looked at my report. The times of the week, this to me was actually pretty logical. I knew that I actually did better on Monday and Tuesday, to be honest. My bad days were actually Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, believe it or not. Wednesday was kind of was even for me, but when I got to Thursday and Friday, I usually didn't do well back then. I don't know if that was because of the way the market was or not, but Monday and Tuesday were my days back then. Nowadays, I don't know. I have to look and see if it matters, but to the best of my knowledge, it's not really that important for me now. But anyway, looking here, okay, Apple is a big symbol that everyone's trading. And looks like you guys are doing okay on Apple. You have enough trades that we can actually take an average. So you're winning 52.54% on Apple. You got a 1.6 reward to risk, and you're holding for about 36 minutes. So Apple seems to be a good stock for you guys to trade. Amazon is not. Amazon, low win percentage, low reward to win to loss. Not a good look. Same thing for AMD, not a stock that's going so well, right? I was going to look at the ones that have at least 50 trades or so. Billy. Now, Billy, I'm actually surprised the stats not better. Billy, we're actually in a net loss as a group, which shouldn't be the case, given how much Billy has moved. So we're winning 45.76% of the time as a group, 1.02 to 1. That's not a good stat. So I would say probably doesn't mean that Billy, there's nothing wrong with Billy, it does move, but clearly we're not exploiting it the right way. Let's see what else. DocuSign. Now this one we have a net gain, but I'm looking at the stats and here's what I see. A high win percentage. Wins the losses, that is, but batting average, but the bad thing is that we're not making that much overall, so that means that again we need to consider what we're doing in DocuSign. Maybe we're not taking the right approach, maybe we're getting in too late, too early, not at all, All right, Facebook, you guys did well in Facebook. Meta, 1.41 to 1, 55.56%. Nice. Okay, that's one symbol that we've been doing well on. Now Moderna, interestingly enough, doesn't look so good, but I'm guessing that most of these losses had nothing to do with the last 2 days, which means that if you've been trading Moderna anytime before the last 2 days, it hasn't been working out, but the last 2 days it has. Microsoft, another one that people are doing well on, 1.54 to 1, 62.73%. That is a good set of stats right there. Microsoft is doing fairly well for us. Netflix is not. 111 trades, but the win percentage is high, but the batting average is high, but the win to loss ratio is not. So, not looking good there. Okay, this one I'm shocked, but this is impressive. Look at this number. That's the most impressive one I've seen of the group. Of anything we've done a lot of trades in. 3.95 win to loss ratio. That is massive. That means that basically of the 126 trades that have been done on NVIDIA, you guys have crushed it. 50% win ratio, but you're cutting your losses fairly fast. It must be either that or the wins are just so big that, and you've only been holding 20 minutes, so that's been a good winner. Okay. PDD, break even. PHVS, better than break even. This one, the win percentage is very high, but the win to loss ratio is not, but still works out because the win percentage, the batting average is so high. PayPal, that one not a winner because the batting average is too low. So that one's not going to walk away as a winner. Okay, QQQ, exactly what I suspected. This is not doing so well. Generally speaking, ETFs are not the place where you're going to make a lot of money. And this is just a warning. Again, this is one of the things that was pointed out to me when I was looking at these stats, that I was doing a lot of trades in ETFs and I was mostly losing. So all the stuff I would make in other symbols, I would give up to the ETFs. So unless you're really doing well in ETFs, I would skip it. Okay, rent has been paying the rent. 2.84 to 1, 70.69%. That's been a killer. I'll skip Roku since it doesn't have enough data. SMMT, also a big winner, 1.51 to 1, 57.58% batting average. Okay, SQQQ, looks like you guys have done well in that one. And that kind of makes sense because it has a lot of leverage. My experience is that people usually do better with stocks that make bigger, more volatile moves. 1.06 is the win-to-loss ratio, but 59.64% wins, so that's pretty good. TQQ, not so good. So looks like most of you are doing better on when the market's going down than up when it comes to these. Tesla, wow, 324 trades, and of which 1.51 to 1, 55% win ratio, batting average. That's good. That's a big gainer for us. So, as you guys can see, when you go through the symbols, you want to look at what you've been doing in those symbols. And this is the whole group, so this could be pretty diversified in what you guys were doing in these symbols. But individually, you want to look at your stats, look at what you were doing for each symbol, and basically figure out why you win in some and not in others. And usually it's going to come down to something very simple. Usually it's going to come down to you might be good at trading stocks that are swinging a lot, but the stocks you're losing in don't do that. They just kind of go neutral or sideways a lot. So just keep an eye on those stats, and this is going to help you guys to improve. So this is just your introduction to prop reports, but if you use this, it's going to help you. It's going to help you become a better, more effective trader by knowing when you're losing and when you're winning, so you don't keep coming back to the poker table when the hands are not playing your way. All right, folks, I do got to run here. I'm going to stop